I'm joined by Georgia Calvin-Smith. Hello, Georgia. And you're going to start us off in Mali.
Well, yeah, Claire, actually, I'm going to start off in Burkina Faso because that's where mediation talks between the Malian government and the MNLA Tuareg rebel group was being held on Friday. However, it wasn't very long before those talks were called off. It's still not clear if they'll be starting up again or whether they are dead in the water. However, it is another illustration of the instability Mali faces on a number of fronts. Things have been pretty tense between Bamako and MNLA Tuareg separatists since their rebellion opened the door to an Islamist invasion in the north of the country last year. And that was only pushed back this year with the help of French military intervention. Now, human rights activists are also concerned about the abuses that have accompanied the French-backed operation to drive out jihadist fighters from the north of Mali. Amnesty International has warned that both Islamist militants and Malian soldiers have always behaved pretty badly. Well, Geneviève Garrigos is Amnesty International's president here in France. She joins us now for more on that report released by her organisation. Geneviève, thanks very much for coming in. Now, according to Amnesty International, who are the main victims of the kind of violence that you've documented? Are we talking civilians or are we talking prisoners from either side?
We are talking both sides. And in fact, in these 4 weeks mission, we have 100 in the north of Mali and in Tombouctou. We have a documented case of a civilian being executed by the Malian army. And also we have documented the case of prisoner that some of them, they have died in detention, and also several cases of torture or ill treatment.
Now, you were telling me earlier that when you talk about military prisoners, some of the military prisoners that you've actually encountered have been very young children.
Yes, we have met with 80 people in detention, and some of them were children, around 13 years old. And for us, what is really a grave abuse is that they are in detention with adults. That is really contrary to any international law.
So, according to what you've seen, are both sides, when I say sides, I'm talking about the Malian army and some of the jihadist fighters that they were trying to drive out of the north, are both sides as bad as each other when it comes to human rights abuses?
Yeah. We cannot say, we cannot balance and rank the violation, but we have also documented cases of people executed by the Mujao, and for being close to or supportive to the French or Malian army. And also we have been able to document cases of sexual violence and on women or recruitment of children as soldiers during the occupation of the north.
So what were French forces doing during all of this?
One of our concern is that, of course, all the violation we have documented from the Malian army are well known, and our concern is that the French army, and this we have testimony, they have arrested some soldiers from the Mujao, and they have transfer them to the Malian army where they have been tortured. And this is really a concern, and we are calling for the French army or other army like the Nigerian or the army from Chad not to transfer the prisoner to the Malian army if they don't have the insurance that there will not be torture.
So you suspect that maybe some of the foreign forces intervening on the behalf of Malian troops may have turned a blind eye to some of the abuses that are being carried on.
This is a big concern, and what we are denouncing today is the fact that, of course, the Malian authorities are saying that they have started investigation on the cases, but no one has been brought to court. And at the end of the day, it's a climate of impunity. And it's very important today that there is no impunity, and anyone who is committing a violation and grave abuse, because the execution is grave abuse, to know that they will be transferred to justice. And this is very important for the peace.
Thank you very much. Genevieve Garrios from Amnesty International speaking to us about abuses in Mali.
Now, moving on to a different theme, the Democratic Republic of Congo seems to be expecting some pretty healthy economic figures on the horizon, Georgia.
Yeah, so it's expected that the economy of DRC, Democratic Republic of Congo, is going to see a spike of over 8%. And that sounds pretty good, but it's actually underperforming considering that the country is pretty well stocked when it comes to natural resources. Diamonds, copper, cobalt, tin, the country's chock-a-block on that front. However, the problem is that investors have been spooked by ongoing conflict, a continuation of wars, and the resultant lack of infrastructure. Now, what the government's saying is that it is going to really try and tackle this and make the most of its bounty.
Every day, thousands of people in the Democratic Republic of Congo enter narrow tunnels like this one to work in the mines. Rich in copper, cobalt, coltan, uranium, gold and diamonds, the country possesses an abundance of natural resources, but accessing them can be hazardous.
2 weeks ago, we found that people had died here. I don't know how many, but it was around a dozen who died. It was following the collapse of the holes where we bring out the minerals.
At this large quarry in Rubaya in North Kivu, miners are digging for coltan, a mineral used in the production of mobile phones and laptops. 2/3 of the world's known reserves are in the DRC. Workers earn up to $10 a day, double the average. And at the market, coltan can sell for several $100s per kilo. Critics sometimes call it a blood mineral, as for decades the Congolese army and various rebel groups have been fighting to control its trade. In an effort to keep track of the country's raw materials, an official trading centre has recently been built, but it's yet to open.
We'll try to concentrate all the trade in minerals here, but the centre's closed. As a result, there'll be lots of fraud. The minerals are scattered here and there, and there's no way to control them.
The government says it wants to clear up the minerals trade, but that will be an enormous task in a country where these precious resources are both a blessing and a curse.
Okay, and a quick look at some other news now. Zambia's ex-president was prevented from leaving the country for the third time in nearly 2 months on Friday. Despite a high court ordering that his passport be released, Rupia Banda was stopped by immigration authorities as he tried to board a flight to South Africa. He faces a raft of corruption charges brought against him after Michael Santa took over in 2011. Banda insists that the allegations are politically motivated. Now, South Africa's economic troubles were highlighted this week as the rand slid to a 4-year low. Well, Microsoft has announced it's working with the government to try and create 3,000 new tech jobs for unemployed graduates. Over half of young people are out of work in the country as it tackles chronic unemployment. Microsoft is investing around 146 million rand in the partnership, which runs parallel to the government's own 9 billion rand jobs fund.
This is one of the most fastest growing economies as a continent in the world. And Microsoft has been committed to Africa for 20 years. It is very clear for us as a company, if we want to be relevant, if we want to sustain our growth as a company, we have to work in partnership with many of constituencies in Africa, academia, governments, other businesses, communities, to provide access, innovation, and skills. If we do that well, absolutely that will also benefit Microsoft.
Okay, now we hear from a Beninese businessman at the centre of a dramatic political row at home. Patrice Talon rarely speaks to the media, but he has spoken to France 24 about accusations he's faced of plotting to poison Benin's president, Boni Yayi.
For the first time since the scandal broke out, Patrice Talon has given a televised interview. The cotton tycoon from Benin fled to France after he was accused of wanting to poison his country's president, Boni Yayi. Last month, a judge dismissed his case, but Talon is still angry.
Now I want to defend my economic interests and my honour. I'm thinking of filing a lawsuit. In France and maybe in Benin, because it seems that judges are now more independent there. Let's make the most of that.
This former ally of Boni Yayi now says the president is ruining Benin.
My country is falling fast. The economy is bad. Freedom is limited. We used to have hope, but now we are disillusioned. We've reached an abyss.
Talon claims Boni Yayi is going after him because he doesn't want the president to alter the constitution so he can win a third mandate. But Boni Yayi's camp says Talon tried to seek revenge after he lost some major contracts in the cotton sector. The president has no doubts that Talon and his friends tried to poison him.
I swear, someone said, I want the ports, I want cotton, or I'll kill you.
Benin wants Talon extradited, but French judges said they would need more information before making a decision next September.
It's like straight out of a soap opera, that. Right, well, that's it from me, but I will be back with more news from Africa on Monday.
Georgia Calvin-Smith there with all your Africa news here on France 24. And do stay tuned, more news coming up on Live from Paris.